The Republicans, who outside of Jeb Bush and his campaign might really be excited about the Eric Cantor endorsement, but although it does say a lot for those that are in the know.
I have to say, at a time when you have the Republican Party base screaming for an outsider, upset at Washington elites, I don't know if I would be trumpeting an Eric Cantor endorsement right now if I were Jeb Bush, who is already being portrayed as the candidate of the insiders, the candidate of the elites. And here's a guy who he lost a Republican primary in the very way Jeb Bush is losing right now, sort of the outside grassroots, so upset in the Republican establishment, so upset at the Republican establishment that they ousted Cantor. So I think it's look, I think Eric Cantor is helpful in fundraising. I think this is a guy who at a time was one of the major architects of the revival of the Republican Party in Virginia a few years back. But I have to say it's a bit of a head scratcher, other than, you know, look, every state caucus and primary matters.
And Chuck, the only other aspect of that is that Mr. Cantor lost because of his work on immigration reform, or his perceived support of immigration reform. And maybe there's a certain message saying, even though you lose for it, I want to talk about this issue. I don't know. I'm thinking.
Look, no, there's no doubt that that's obviously, you know, Jeb Bush is not going to back down on his immigration stance on that front. But look, I think you know, everybody created an interpretation about Eric Cantor's loss, I think, in different ways. I think the biggest is that he represented the establishment. He represented going Washington. And that's why when you look at where this Republican primary electorate is today, the anxiousness that's there, the fact that they are uncomfortable with the insiders right now, that they're searching for outsiders, I just don't know if I were Jeb Bush that I would be doubling down on an insider right now very publicly. I'm not saying you don't want Eric Cantor's help. I'm not saying Eric Cantor can't help you fundraising. Eric Cantor can be an advisor. Do you want him in such a public role? Do you want to send that message? Because right now you're only talking to grassroots activists. Is that actually a helpful thing in Virginia right now? And look, and again, this is no disrespect to Eric Cantor, but I think the message that it sends to some in the party isn't going to be a positive one.